Before we begin, guys, if you want to grab our supplements, I truly believe they're the best supplement in the world for men. Everybody who's used them has given me amazing reviews. Sold over 22,000 units now. There's worldwide free shipping. And if you want 10% discount, you subscribe monthly and you'll get 10% off. If you want to watch the shows on our stream platform, the link is below. We've got documentaries and series on there. Really interesting stuff. There's a new documentary coming out very soon called Fatherless Generation. Just putting together the final bits of that. If you want to get our course, these are all the things that I can't really talk about openly on YouTube. You know, things like attracting women, life setup, framing, you know, all the things that Dan Bilzerian did in order to set his life up. I'm doing one very soon, maybe even tonight or tomorrow, on Leonardo DiCaprio and how he does it. I've put a lot of my own stuff in there and whatnot. That's available. You can pay $69.99 or £17 per month for 5 months, so that makes it very easy. And then finally, guys, 1M House. This is revolutionizing the men's industry in general. I think this is the future of members clubs and this industry. If you want to check that out, the link is below. 1mhouse.com is where we've bought houses all around the world where you guys can stay. Access to a pool, communal areas, you know, you've got spa, you've got offices, you've got podcast and meeting room, access to a high-level network, you know, bedrooms where you can stay at these properties. We've gone over and beyond with this idea. So if you want to check that out, it's application only now. We've already got all the members that we required. So application only, submit your application, say why you'd be a good fit for the house, and we'll get back to you within around about a week. So that is £3,000 per year. But guys, revolutionary. It's changing the game. So now into the video that you came here to watch. Okay then, guys, in this video we're going to revert back to something I was saying years ago, actually. When I used to ask you guys, when was the last time you did a sprint? Do you remember me asking that? Well, that's making the rounds now. On, I don't know, like somebody must have gone out there and looked into it or whatever. Hopefully it's a real statistic. It seems like it is. But apparently 95% of people over the age of 30, it was just adults. I know that sounds strange. Do you know what I mean? But they're only including adults from like 18 and above, right? So 95% over the age of 30 will not do a sprint ever again in their life. That's mental, right? I always knew it was something like that because I always used to say to you guys, when was the last time you did a sprint? I think for most people past the age of 21 as well, I think that I don't think that figure would be too different. I think after 30 it says, you know, 95%, but I think after 21 it might even be like 90, because I think unless you're playing sports, which, you know, after a certain age a lot of people don't do it, it might be 80%, something like that or whatever, but it's such a low statistic. And this has always been my argument to you guys, you know, about the male advantage and stuff. You know, when people say, oh, men reach a certain age, or, you know, as you get older, it becomes harder to blah, blah. Like, it's all, a lot of it is bullshit. A lot of it is bullshit. Like, how many guys do you know under the age of 30 that are successful outside of sports? Right? So, basically what I'm saying is you can't really put it all together in the early days. Like, it's just not all going to come together. It's very difficult to do. You need time. So then the problem is for most people is once they become some level of successful, maybe they're beyond the age of 30, 95% of people don't sprint after the age of 30, which probably tells me as well that they don't go to the gym. They don't take care of their body. It probably also tells me that they drink too much, eat shit and whatnot. I think if you asked a room of 100 guys to sprint 100 meter, I think 50% would pull up with a hamstring or a knee injury. I think they would stop and be like, oh. I think many of them, it would take them like 20 seconds to do. Many would have a stitch at the end, fall over, holding their stomach. You know, many would trip. You know, we're just not an athletic, you know, species. We just reached a point where we're very lazy. We don't really take care of our bodies. We're not prepared for a lot of things. And that's the problem. That's the people that you've got in power positions in life. That's the people you've got like running countries. That's the people you've got, you know, holding a very good job, making hundreds of thousands per year, millions, whatever. So you've got like fat, old, bald guys with a lot of money. And this is why, one of the easiest things that you can do in your life as a man is stay on top of health and fitness. Like every single gym session. So 6 days a week I stretch. Okay, I never used to do that before, but I stretch now. My workouts are 10 times harder than they used to be. I think I'm in the best shape of my life, personally, and I'm 31 years old. My body fat is probably the lowest it's been since I was about 9 years old. My skin's probably the best it's been. Like, it's very easy to make yourself look better in your 30s and 40s than you did at any other age. It's just very few people do it. Like, if you think 95% don't sprint after the age of 30, that's so alarming. That is so alarming. There's just like 5% of people, and that might be like once per year. Like they ask him in a survey, when was the last time you sprinted? Oh, I did the dad's race at my kid's school. Once per year isn't going to change your life. Do you know what I mean? It's not going to have a drastic effect on your body. Like I was doing sprints today on the treadmill, where you go, like a fast pace, then down to a walk, fast pace down to a walk, because it was raining, I couldn't do it outside, and I'm stretching, and I was lifting weights. I'm out walking, I'm working on my business, I'll do skincare tonight. I'm a 31-year-old man using retinol. Do you know what I mean? Like, people don't usually use these things till they hit their like 40s or 50s. If you're just ahead of the game and you can stay on top of these things, and like I said, I truly believe most people leave school and then they never actually, sprint again. I think the statistics on that is like 85%. I think it would be through the roof. It's only kind of, the guys that still play sports recreationally on a weekend that kind of keep that up. The majority of people will never sprint again in their life the day they leave the school. And like I said, that's wildly alarming. And it's the easiest trick in the book for a man, because you will just naturally become more successful with time and age. You will inherit money. Might even be 20, 30,000, might not be a lot of money, but you'll inherit that when your parents pass away. You might inherit a house. As you get older, bosses will promote you. They'll be like, oh, he's a 30-year-old man. He looks the part. Let's put him up in the company. You've put 10 years into a company and you start to look like a man. Well, guess what? They're going to boost you up in the company. You're just like, life's going to get easier financially as you get older, just because people are willing to pay you more money. Your experience, your skill set. You go for a job interview with 12 years experience or 9 years experience compared to 2 when you first started. You're just going to make more money naturally. The one thing that nobody does, obviously 5%, probably less, but like 5% of people do, is just stay in shape. Like, if you look at the obesity figures in America, it's like 60% now. It might even be higher. You're basically saying that like over half the country are too fat to be able to walk anywhere. And then probably another like 35% are overweight. Like, it's embarrassing. It really is embarrassing. It's like one of the biggest cheat codes. I actually saw a phrase the other day and it actually changed my perspective on the world. Some guy said, if you're in shape, you're an instant celebrity. And he's right. Because you think of a woman, right, when she walks into a room, if she's got a ridiculous body and she's wearing a tight dress or tight jeans and a tight top, every girl and guy is just like that. Like, wow, who is she? And you almost like put her up on a pedestal. It's the same with a guy. If a guy comes in and he's shredded, he's got massive muscles and stuff like that, and you can just see that he's like sculpted. Every guy is just like, damn, like that's the alpha male. Like, what's his gym routine? Like, that guy's massive. Like, it makes you a celebrity. People just look at you. People gawk at you, and it's because it's becoming rarer and rarer and rarer. It gives you that celebrity effect, and it's just shocking. 95% of people will never sprint again. Like, and like, I'm pulling this statistic out my ass, but I think it's probably bang on. And I said this years ago. Probably 80 to 90% of people, like, I don't think it's going to change that much. 80 to 90% of people probably don't sprint from the day they leave school. University, high school, whatever it might be, wherever they're doing their last physical activity. I would say high school, probably like 80%, university, probably like 90%, that they never sprint again. They might sprint after their kids once at like 42 and that'll be it. But, on a consistent basis. And that's worrying, right? Because if I didn't go to the gym, I wouldn't feel like my body was there. I wouldn't feel like it's prepared. If I don't do sparring or pad work with my coach, boxing, I feel I'm not as sharp, I'm not as tough, I'm not as ready for the world. Do you know what I mean? You're only good at things that you practice often. And things like sprinting, jumping, stretching, um, lifting weights, like these are all basic body functions that you need to be able to do. Like you need to just be able to move. Like I think Conor McGregor was a way better fighter when he was doing all the balance beam stuff and the like, what did Nate Diaz call it? Grab ass in the park with his boyfriends. When he was doing all of that, he was a way better fighter. And I think too many people disregard that. I think basic skills like reading books, I think it keeps you sharp. Things that you used to do at school, like, there's certain things I do today. Like if I don't make a YouTube video for a week or two, I like semi forget how to do it. Like if you're not doing speaking arrangements or public speaking or, speaking up in a meeting, your voice gets a little bit quieter. Like, these are all basic skills of humanity, but you need to be on top of them all the time. You need to be like training your brain or like flexing your brain. Do you know what I mean? Like pushing it all the time, pushing your body, staying on top of things. And, people say, oh, you get to 30 years old and you'll get that back pain. Well, I'm 31 and I haven't had a hint of it yet. I actually feel better, stronger, quicker than I ever have before. I've done tests and stuff like that where it's like you're performing better now than you were, whatever. I've had like my testosterone sky high. I've had tests where they've said you've got the body of like a 20-year-old and stuff like that, like the way everything's working. My friend had it done the other day. He was like a 14-year-old, and they said it only stopped there because it can't go any lower. Like that's how healthy you can keep yourself, right? And when people say to me, like, oh, you'll get to 30 years old and you'll have back pain, or you won't be able to, do the same things you used to, or you'll look really old overnight. And it's just like, it's quite easy to stay on top of if you're not living like everyone else. Like if 95% of people don't sprint after the age of 30, I would assume that 95% of people in their 20s are also going out and getting drunk every weekend. I would assume that, do you know what I mean? I could go on and on and on and on. But I could say, like, I would assume 95% of people are overweight or not in shape, or if they're not, they're super skinny. Do you know what I mean? Like I would assume 95% of people order a takeaway on a weekend or some Uber Eats, or they have a pizza, or they eat something shit they're not supposed to, or they have, a few beers sat in front of the TV. Like this is the world that we live in. It's very easy to climb to that top. Like if I can say for years, guys, with no study, no information, just an observation on the world, that when people leave school, like when was the last time that they did a sprint? If I've been saying that for years and then they come out with a massive study on statistics, 95% of people, like if I could notice that and see an opportunity, that's how easy it is to climb the ladder in the world. That's how easy it is to reach a top percentage, that I could just walk around and look and go, everybody looks like shit. It's not going to take a lot. Do you know what I mean? To start lifting some weights, put some effort in. Every day I go to the gym, it's the same people. It's really not that hard. You don't have to put too much in. And it's so important as you age to stay on top of your physical, your basic physical needs. Things like mental needs as well, just to stay sharp all the time. To instead of using the calculator, try and do it in your head first. Do you know what I mean? Just little things like that. People don't do it. Read books, write stuff out, think, strategize, plan things. It keeps you sharp. If you've not got your finger in that pie all the time, or your finger on the pulse, you lose those skills. You're not as sharp as you used to be. And physically is massive. If you're not stretching, if you're not lifting heavy weights, if you're not sprinting, if you're not jogging. I did it just a few years ago. I went to play in my dad's football charity match. And I was like, I'll go for a jog just so I can get fit. I couldn't run. I had about 4 or 5 injuries. And I was like, oh my God, my Achilles are on fire. I need to stretch them out. It took me like a month or two to actually be able to run again. And this is a guy who used to be a 100-meter sprinter, one of the quickest in the country. I couldn't run. It was embarrassing. Then my knee went. I had a little bit of pain. It took me a month to be able to actually run in my dad's charity game and get up to a full sprint. It took me a month. Like imagine what it's like for some people who were never active. They never really worked hard in school. That's why at like 42 years old, they're getting like knee replacements, hip operations. Like you have to move. You have to keep your body going. You have to challenge yourself. You have to keep yourself sharp. And it pays dividends every decade. Because in your teens, everyone's kind of in shape. In your 20s, you can separate yourself by getting muscle early because most guys don't have it. In your 30s, if your body fat is low, you're winning. Like, you are ahead of everybody. If you've got muscle and your body fat's low, you're a celebrity. In your 40s, if you're still in shape, like even in half decent shape, you're basically a king in that bracket. You know, in your 50s, you are, you know, an actual king, because nobody's doing that. So it's like every single year it pays off more and more and more and more. You look rarer and rarer and younger. Like, it's, I don't know why people are putting shit in their bodies early on. I don't know, like, you only get one body. If you bought a car, you wouldn't fill it with chip fat, but people do. And I think it's because a car, you've actually bought it. It's something that you own. Whereas your body, your life is given to you. And I don't think people quite appreciate how precious it is. You know, when I used to play football, you'd play, you'd run around, you'd have a good game, whatever, you wouldn't care. When you were injured, you were like, God, I hate being injured. I can't play at my maximum. Like, I've got a knee injury, I don't feel like myself, it's putting me off, I can't run as quick, like it used to annoy me. You know what it's like, guys, as well, when you get ill, you get the flu. What does everybody say? As soon as I recover from this flu, I'm going to stay healthy now. That's it. I'm not going to go out drinking. I'm going to eat good. I'm going to blah, blah, blah. And the Chinese used to have a quote, which was, prevention is the best cure. People don't do that. People get ill and then go, how do I cure myself? How do I stay on top of it? And then post-illness, they just go back to their normal lifestyle. If you could be one of those people that gets serious and goes, do you know what? I'm in full health right now. How far can I take this? Like, how can I get even better? Like, how can I keep pushing myself? How can I become a better version of myself at 40 than I was at 23? Like, that's possible. You've seen people do it. You look at Hollywood. You know, you've got Chris Hemsworth in his 40s. You've got Henry Cavill, who's 40. You've got Alan Ritchson, who's 41. You've got Chris Evans, who's 43. Like, there is literally no excuse. Like, these are the guys. Like, you got Michael B. Jordan, who's 37, about to be 38. You got all these guys that are like closer to 40, and they look better than pretty much any 20 and 30-year-old on the planet. These guys are all in their 40s because it takes time. They've worked away at it. They've crafted at it. That's what's out there for you as a man if you're willing to put the work in, if you're willing to stay on top of things. You know, if you put it this way, if you ate clean, went to the gym, sprinted and stretched is a massive one, and maybe you did a bit of swimming as well, 6 days a week from the age of, 20 to 50, at 50 years old, if you had back pain, I'd be shocked. If you couldn't play with your kids, I'd be shocked. If you couldn't run a marathon, I'd be shocked. If you stay on top of it and you stay active, it's fine. But if you're carrying, women who have to get breast reduction because their boobs are too big so their back hurts. Of course it does, right? You can only carry a certain amount of poundage on your body until it, the spine starts to deviate. Why would you think it would be any different with a beer gut? Like, if you've got a massive beer gut and you're carrying excess fat and then you get knee pain, well, yeah, this is why... look out for this, guys. Every guy who's been fat for a long period of time, their calves are like this. Their calves are fucking massive because they're so heavy. Their calves are having to carry around that load all day. Well, so are your knees. So's your back. So's your what? I don't. People go, oh, I'm getting older. I got back pain. It's like, no, because you're carrying around about 40. You're carrying around about 100 pounds of extra weight that you don't need to be carrying around every single day. If I wore a weighted vest every day or 2 weighted vests, I'm sure I'd see some issues. Like, you just go traveling for a week with some luggage. You throw it on your shoulder. By the end of the week, by the time you come back from the airport, you're like, oh, I've got a pain down on the other side of my body where I'm carrying my bag in that hand and I'm compensating on the other side. I've got a slight pain on that side of my body. That's how people are living. They've just got these massive fucking beer guts and massive titties and it's just weighing their whole body down. They're getting knee pain, back pain. Oh, I feel so old. Putting shit into the body. Not sleeping properly. Going out and getting drunk. I made that video recently that most people put 10 grand a year of shit, negative stuff into their body and then complain that they don't feel good. Imagine if you put 10 grand into your body every single year and invest in yourself like you were a high performance athlete. You would thrive. And not only would you thrive, but while you're thriving, everyone else is going the other way. So with every single year, if you're some ugly guy with poor genetics, you're a loser at school and whatever, but you really work hard on yourself and everyone else is up here. If you really work hard on yourself, that is literally going to happen. And you don't have to go all the way to the top. You might not be a Henry Cavill, but that is going to happen. Like, time is on your side as a man. Like, that is going to take place at some point, and you're going to go, oh, I've just taken over because nobody else is taking care of themselves, and I'm now on top. Now, that might be 35, but who cares? If you put it this way, I'm not a big spender on myself. I don't have a watch. I don't have chains. I don't have expensive shit. I've got a car that anybody could afford. I've got a house that most people could afford. They're all nice things, but, you know, I'm not balling out of control. I put most of my money back into my business. I've got a plan to do this until around about 35. Okay? When I hit 35, I'll cash in. I'll buy my house in London. I'll buy a few assets. I'll, you know, fly around the world. I'll really enjoy it. I don't think 35's old. I think I'll be the best I've ever been at that age. That could be you. You could be working on yourself, and like that transition is going to be massive. You're going to get to that point where you go, I don't exist. Like I've told you guys before, I did that calculator thing where you put in how much money you make, how old you are, how many kids you have, are you married, and you put in your height. So that's not even taking into account fitness, dress sense, hygiene, things like that, assets, whatnot, intelligence. You're just putting in like a very basic 5, and I was 0.04%. Like you basically don't exist. Like you are just like a trace. You know, it says like trace nuts. Me and my friend joke about this. That's what you are in the world. You're a trace. Like do you know what I mean? And it's not even that hard to achieve. And to bring it back full circle and end this video, guys, 95% of people aren't sprinting after the age of 30. Like I would say 85% of people don't sprint. 80 to 85% don't sprint after high school. It's so easy. It is so easy. The competition basically doesn't exist. Like there's a reason that the world that you live in and the world that you see and the things that are known to you aren't real. They're just averages of average people. You know, when people are like, oh, it's a struggle. You know, I hate Mondays. Oh, you'll get back pain at 30. Oh, you're going to need Viagra by the time you're 40 years old. It's like all these kind of stigmas and, you know, oh, you finish work at 5, Friday feelings, sit in front of the TV all weekend. Like, you know, all men are pigs. Like these are stereotypes that come from average people. These are stereotypes that just come from the average man or the average woman or the, you know, my nagging wife. Like you hear all this stuff all the time, like, oh, my mother-in-law. Like these are just stereotypes that just come from negative average people. Like none of this shit actually exists if you don't want it to. You know, like happy wife, happy life. Like, no, you can, like, none of this is real as long as you're somebody who works on themselves, learns, studies, you know, actually challenges themselves and stays at a high level. You can literally have the best life ever and you don't have to encounter all the problems that other people have. You know, you'll get to a certain age and your knees will pack up. Nope. Like, I had a knee injury when I used to play football about 23, 24. My knee was fucked. My knee is fine now. I'm 31 years old. My knee's strong and it's fine. I've just been doing weight training, you know, treating my body right, eating clean food, and it's just healed. Like, it's fine. It's like, so I've got better knees now than I did when I was like 23, 24. It's weird. I used to get back pain when I was like 7 years old because I used to lean forward and play on my PlayStation relentlessly and I'd get back spasms. I'm now 31 and I don't get back spasms. Do you know what I mean, guys? Like, life is what you make of it. And, you know, just look at the obesity figures. Look at the fact that 95% of people after 30 years old never sprint again. Like, if you don't want any of that, if you don't want to be average, if you want to rise above, you want to be a top percentage individual, it's all there for you. There's no excuse. You can wake up tomorrow like I am, go to the gym, I'll do a full session, I'll do my ab work, I'll run on the treadmill, I'll come home, I've probably drank 3 liters of water by that point, I'll eat clean food, me and my business partner will work on the business all day. We've got a massively important day tomorrow. We'll work till about 8 p.m. at night, so we'll do 12 hours. We'll come home probably. I'm going to learn Spanish, read a book, you know, maybe even do some more stretches. And then, you know, you get an early night and you do your skincare routine and whatever, you stay on top of things. Like, it's just, it's not by accident and it's all there. It's all laid out. The world is average. Like, that's what it's been built upon. is built upon like these stereotypes, these stigmas, these rules, these fake rules that are in place. It's all from average people with no ambition who have put these limiting beliefs in place. None of it's real. I mean, you could be a 50-year-old stud if you want to. Like, to think 5, 6, 7, I've just reeled off the top of my head, of the most handsome guys in the world, the most sought after guys in the world, who are in the best shape, who look the best, who are multi-millionaires. They're all 40s. And that's factual. It's right there for you to look at. Like, these are like the most sought after guys right now. Like, they're considered the sexiest men. Like, they're all in their 40s. Like, it's not not by accident. Like, it takes time to like craft away at it and become a certain individual. But like I said in the title, 95% of people don't sprint after 30 years old. You got your answer right there.